Welcome back. Monterey County open for business. I'm your host today. I'm Marianne Leffel, president of the Monterey County Business Council. You're going to learn a lot more about what's going on in the region. So my second guest is in that business that we all love, real estate. So Jason Montgomery, welcome.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for having me.
So you're with Shankle Real Estate.
I am.
And that's a locally owned, family-owned business.
They're in their 61st year this year. I think it was founded by my boss's grandfather, taken over by his father, and subsequently my boss a few years ago. So we're one of the last remaining locally owned family businesses in Monterey.
That hasn't been subsumed by a larger corporation.
Exactly.
So that's great. I love that.
It is. It's a neat place to work, neat people, years of experience. I've learned a lot working there.
So what put you into that business?
Well, I grew up, my father was a general contractor. He's retired now. Okay. So I always kind of grew up in and around the business. It was dinner table conversation for us. So it kind of seemed like the next logical step, especially considering I don't like getting my hands dirty building houses.
You were like, no, Dad.
Exactly. He was great at it. But I don't think I would have been in that aspect. And, I like working with people. I love helping people. And that's the really neat thing about this job is being able to get out there, kind of working with people, helping them understand the process, because it is a complicated process.
It's an ugly process.
And it doesn't have to be ugly, but it is complicated.
Well, it's ugly if you don't understand it and if you don't have someone professional that's kind of guiding you through it.
Correct.
So.
And that's so important. I mean, of course, I want all the business for myself, but at the same time, I encourage everybody, please find a good reputable lender. Please find a good home inspector. Please, most importantly, find a good agent. I know that people think we make a lot more money than we really do, and sometimes the deals are easy, but most of the time they're not.
Yeah, almost everything's got a wrinkle in it before you finish.
Exactly, and that's why you have a professional to help you figure that out along the way, or prevent the wrinkles from happening at all.
I remember, I'm a retired commercial lender, and I remember going all the way through with a couple on a very sizable commercial loan, buying a piece of property, everything. And the one thing that they'd never checked the box on, and it came out at the very end, was whether or not he was a U.S. citizen.
Oh.
And it was a government-backed loan, and he was not. And it was, I can't even tell you, it was embarrassing for all of us that we hadn't asked. We all had assumed that he was for how long he'd been here, and we all knew him socially, but it wasn't. And so, it's like read the boxes, check them carefully, and understand what you're working with.
Well, and I understand that there's, embarrassing situations sometimes with people's finances, but that's, you go to these lenders, that's their job, is to help you, and you can't keep secrets from them because it's all going to get uncovered.
Yeah, someone else I know that I referred a client to came to me at the end, and I said, so how'd it go? And they went, well, we got all the way to the end, and they never told me that they had a bankruptcy. And I didn't know it.
Sure.
Because it happened before they got here, but it was still fairly recent. I'm like, they didn't have to tell me, but they did have to tell their agent and their lender, because that...
Well, when you know what you're dealing with up front, sometimes it's easier to figure out, we're not going to go the way we thought we were going to go, and that's okay. We'll go an alternate way, and we'll get this done for you. But that's why it's so important to know everything up front.
Yeah. If people lay it out there, then there is a lender that will loan to them, but it may not be the lender that you just wasted 25 days
right,
with.
And when you have a contractual deadline, a lot of times you don't have the option of turning around and starting over with somebody who can accomplish your needs.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's an interesting business. So,
it is.
What's your primary market? Where do you focus?
Primarily, I work all over the peninsula. I have a new listing coming up in the Oak Grove area of Monterey.
I love that area.
It's a great little area. Yeah. I currently live in Marina. I bought my house in Marina about 1.5 years ago. Okay. So I've been doing a lot of business in Marina as well, kind of, learning the ins and outs of the business there, recognizing the values. There's a lot of interesting things happening in Marina right now, which is why I'm so excited about it. They're going to be increasing the student body at CSUMB quite substantially over the next 7 to 10 years. There's a lot of new development going on. There's the new hotel that just went in over off of Imjin Road.
Spring Hill Suites.
Exactly. There's the Dune Shopping Center that's not finished yet, but already has a lot of really neat stuff in it. So it's a really exciting time for the city of Marina. I think they recognize that they're kind of the last frontier on the immediate peninsula where there's water available, there's land available to build on, and because of that, I think it's going to go through a boom in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's a very nice community. It's a very cohesive community, the way it feels. People, even if they're of different politics, they still manage to get along and work for the good of the city.
They
really
really
like
do.
that.
They really do. I mean, within, I would say, a week of owning my house, I knew most of the neighbors on my street, which is something that I can't say for my old neighborhood. And it's, people take great care of their houses. There's pride in the neighborhood. Everybody looks out for each other, which is really nice to have that community feel.
So, and let me ask you something, because I'm real involved with broadband.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that people ask about the level of service of broadband?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think they do everywhere. That's, one of the...
I mean overall, that when people are buying, it is one of the issues.
I wouldn't say it's the most, it comes up in conversation in that, 30-day, 45-day process. Absolutely. And that's why it's so nice to know so many people on the peninsula, because generally if I'm selling a home in a neighborhood, I've either already sold one there or know someone that lives there. So I can easily make a phone call and get an answer.
So that's good.
Yes.
It is good. Where are the buyers coming from?
The buyers are coming from everywhere. I'm working with some buyers right now that are relocating. They're retiring. So actually, we should close escrow today on a house in Pacific Grove.
Good for you.
And that was a long-time dream of theirs. So it was really neat to help them make that happen. I have some other clients I'm working with right now that are coming up from the Soledad area, moving into Salinas. I have some investor clients right now that we're looking at a couple of pieces of property in Marina. So, it kind of runs the gamut as far as who I represent. I have a large family and a large social circle. So for the past few years, I've been representing a lot of family members and a lot of really good friends, which is always a really neat thing to help with.
It can go either way.
It can go either way. It can go either way. But knock on wood, things have gone pretty well, and all of the friendships are still intact. So that means something.
It says a lot about you.
Oh, thank you.
That you can navigate all of the pitfalls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think one thing too is the Marina High School, with the changes that the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District has made to make that a focal point of technical, I believe. I think that's going to be really important to that community.
It is, and they're doing, at the middle school, they're doing a lot of water conservation. I'm also a water commissioner, on the conservation committee.
Okay.
So we do a lot of work with the local schools there as well that have rain barrels set up, all drought-resistant landscaping, and they're kind of teaching the students who are the younger population in Marina about all of that, the water conservation, water resources, where our water comes from, how it's utilized, good ways to conserve. So the education in the schools in Marina, I think, is top notch as far as what's going on in the community and what's going on in the environment as well.
Well, and also you've got the opportunity there with the beach and the ocean right there. And I think Marina's got one of the most outstanding youth programs of anybody in this region. What that city has managed to do with their youth programs is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think the city as a whole is pretty impressive as far as their vision for the city, their desire for controlled growth that's going to benefit the community. I think you realize when lots of houses start going in, like is happening right now, you need the resources and the education for the community, and people need to understand how their community works. And then the entertainment that goes along with it. Which grocery store am I going to go to? Which restaurants am I going to go to? And so I think Marina recognizes that and really encourages that growth in a healthy, responsible way.
So it's a great movie theater.
It is.
Those are the most comfortable chairs.
They really are. They really are.
So Where do you see if people are in the low end of the market, new first-time home buyer maybe? Where's a good place to start?
You know, I mean, aside from the geographical, I just have to do the plug one more time of the best place to start is with their lender. And they may be surprised. I've had clients surprised either way. Clients that qualified for a lot more than they thought, and clients that qualified for a lot less than they thought they were going to. The thing about going to a good lender as well is they can kind of help you dial it in. If you're not quite ready yet, they can help you understand which steps you need to take next in order to make the qualification process easier.
That makes sense.
As far as where to go for a purchase, I think, you know, I like parts of South Salinas. I like Marina. I think that it just kind of depends on what they qualify for and what their need is.
You know, I have found, and I'll go back several years, someone came to me and said that their key employee was going to leave the area and was looking at Placerville and that they were going to move because they couldn't afford to live here. And I said, knowing the young couple, I don't think that's true. Why don't you send them to me? And now keep in mind, I was a commercial lender, but I sit down with them on a Saturday morning and detailed out and showed them that they could afford a house. They couldn't afford a house in Pebble Beach, but they could afford a house in South Salinas. So I actually closed up the bank and drove over and showed them the neighborhood with all the tree-named streets. I love that area. And said, look at this. This is perfect. There's just two of you. Take a chance on it. And one of them was working in Salinas at the time. I said, so you're going to have a great commute to work. And they bought. And if you were to fast forward about 12 or 15 years, they got enough equity in that house. They ended up buying in Pacific Grove. And now they rent the house in Pacific Grove, and they have purchased a house in Pebble Beach. And so, you know, I look when people tell me they cannot afford something, and I said, don't believe all the BS and hype that's around, and sit down with somebody who understands the financing of it and see exactly what you can do. And maybe you can't afford it now, but maybe they can give you a roadmap so that 1 year from now, you can go ahead and do it.
Exactly.
But I see so many young people who get out of college, and the first thing they want to do is to buy the new hot car. And that's just the worst mistake.
It is.
The car is going to just, as soon as you drive it off the lot, not that I have anything against my darling car dealer friends, but, you know, it's not an appreciable item. So I say, don't do that. Buy something maybe a little less, or work it out and see what you can do, but start putting some money away for buying that house.
Well, and I think that that's the thing, you know, you touched on a lot of really good points, but people, I think, need to understand that you don't just go out and buy a house. Your house is a goal that you reach after working hard to get there. So I agree with you, you know, please don't buy that $50,000 car.
Yeah. Because
that payment is going to hurt you from a loan qualifying process, and you're exactly right, it's a depreciating asset.
Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of hard to tell people, and I understand people come away from college with debt. I get that. But also maybe their last year in college, if they really want to think about the future, maybe they curtail some of their spending, if they can, and some can.
If they can, and you're right, some can. I think that, you know, I unfortunately don't think that, you know, I think these kids are graduating with a lot of debt, and it just makes me so sad. Because, you know, when you're in debt, you're crawling out of a hole. And it's so unfortunate that they have to start in the hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think our region is still pretty fortunate because we're seeing the impact from the Bay Area, but we're not seeing what's happening up there.
We're not seeing it yet. There's a lot of people, you know, a lot of clients I have coming from Southern California, the same thing is happening down there. So if the market keeps going the way that it's going, which all the economic indicators point to right now, I think our market is still going to be appreciating. I think we're still going to be dealing with increased prices. Perhaps as interest rates rise, prices will level off, but I don't think we're going to see happen what happened when the market crashed.
Yeah, I hope not.
I do too. It was a sad, scary time.
Yes, it was frightening. And, you know, I think it was frightening, too, with a lot of people who are older, who had refinanced houses to take vacations and to do things, and then thinking that it's going to continue to just...
It was heartbreaking. I was in lending at the time, and the logical part of my brain was telling me, this has to stop, this can't keep going. But clients were still coming to my desk looking for money, and banks were still offering it. So it was really kind of, after it started to melt down, it all made sense. But as it was increasing so drastically, it just felt like it was going to go on forever.
Well, Jason, I was in finance all my life, and I actually was sitting on... we own property in Kauai, and I was sitting there watching every day the stock market drop. I'm thinking, I can't possibly go any lower, right? And it just kept going, and it took a lot of, we just had, talking about ginger, the last segment, I can tell you, there wasn't enough ginger by the time that dropped.
Settle your stomach. Right?
I was like, well, I guess thank God I'm not so old that I need to be drawing on this money. And obviously it's all back, and it's back and more, but it was like, oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay attention to it the way I should have. So, I'm as guilty as anybody else. But anyway. So your advice is start with the lender.
Absolutely.
And go and see what you're qualified for. Sit down, talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
And maybe they can come to a professional like yourself, and you can ask a few questions to kind of guide them to what lender might be appropriate.
I have such a long list of referral sources for clients, starting with lenders, but into the home improvement aspect. A lot of times people list properties and have no idea where to start. So as far as the resources, I'm happy to talk to anybody. I love talking real estate, and help them make a plan or find the person that's going to help them make the best plan.
Good. I like that. Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
So, Jason Montgomery, Shankle Real Estate, and you want to give him a phone number?
Absolutely. You can call me directly on my cell phone, which is 831-521-8497. My email, jason@shanklerealestate.com, all one word. You can find me on Facebook, Jason Montgomery Realtor.
There you go. He's easy to find. So if you're thinking about buying, or you've got a child that's thinking about buying, find a professional like Jason, and please do it right. Don't just kind of sit around and cry because you can't afford it, because you might be able to. So this is your town. This is not your town. I guess it is your town. This is Monterey County, open for business, and don't go away. We'll be back in a minute. Thank you.